Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya is a marketing and client recruitment software. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. How do we do it? A matchmaker. Your brand will have its own unique matchmaking survey. By pairing people based on their skill set, budget, personality, and lifestyle preferences, Maya creates lasting relationships that keep both sides coming back for more. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Pair the right clients with the right beauty pros the first time. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
Thank you for joining me. This is Katie Whitledge with the Beyond the Technique podcast. We have therapy for salon owners today. Wow. If you know a salon owner who you can confide in and vice versa, share today's episode with them. If you're listening, you can actually watch today's episode on our YouTube channel. It is always incredible to see the faces behind the names. And we have a new friendly face here today. We have first-time guest ZELINA here, who is a licensed clinical therapist, accomplished author, and U.S. Army veteran renowned for her extensive expertise in human behavioral and social work practices. Oh, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
She holds a bachelor's degree in social work from Southern University A&M College and a master's degree in social work from Louisiana State University. As the owner of the Healing Experience Coaching and Consulting Services and the host of the Dear Unapologetically Me podcast, ZELINA is deeply committed to empowering individuals to embrace their authentic selves and life purposes. Raise your hand if you feel like, man, I really need a therapist who can understand the unique nuances of being in the beauty industry as a salon owner. Well, that's why ZELINA is here. So without further ado, help me welcome ZELINA. Welcome to Beyond the Technique.
Thank you. Thank you. Amazing introduction. I thank you so much for that. Beautiful job. I love it. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm just excited to have you here. And if I didn't know it, I would meet you and think, oh, this woman is in the beauty industry. Your hair is amazing, flawless skin, everything.
Thank you.
Okay, but you didn't maybe intentionally go this path. Tell me about the beginning for you. What brought you first to the world of like therapy and wanting to help people in this way?
Oh, wow. Great question. So what initially brought me to the field of therapy was I kind of was born and raised in this actual industry. My mother was a therapist. So growing up in the industry of mental health, knowing what an assessment was by the age of 3, helping others. It just was the formality of our home environment, growing up in the field, as though you would say, and, just understanding human aspects of mental health. And that's just kind of, hey, you're going to be a therapist. I think that would be a good idea. And I'm very appreciative for that because it helped me to see the world for what it was. And it could be a great place, from a humanistic perspective, if we can just see the beauty of how great humans are. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, and you see a hairstylist yourself. So you've kind of seen a little bit about what it's like to be in this environment. And we all have our stylists who we can confide in. So I'm sure you're hearing some of the challenges that owners are facing, especially if I know that a therapist is sitting in my chair and that roles are reversed for once, right?
Yes.
What is that like for you to see your hairstylist and just have that kind of role? Because normally the hairstylist is like, how can I feed your soul? What can I do to listen and be there for you? We are some of the most confided
Yes.
professionals that people talk to. What is that like for you?
Yes. And it's so funny because I always, over the years in receiving services, I've always joked about stylists moonlighting as therapists, being the fact that I'm waiting for myself to be serviced as I'm waiting and hearing the conversations. And some of these conversations are heavy. And as stylists, these people, we come to you for years because it's a committed relationship, whether you know it or not. We're in a committed relationship. And myself, I don't want to change. You do my hair great. we're packed in for life. I don't think it's a joint secret agreement, especially if you do a great job. So in having my own stylist over the years, I've saw the mental impact, not only in her being a stylist and then becoming a owner herself. I saw the mental impact in how it has become detrimental. And at times, no one's ever asking her, are you okay? So, how it, I guess, transpired was, it was a day out of hell for her. And I provided her the space for her to vent to me. And normally that's how it goes. When she sees me, she's excited because it's the moment to say, it is my turn for me to vent and pour out. And before you know it, I'm giving her homework assignments, not holistically. She's not my client, but saying, Liz, this is what you can do to protect your mental health, just from self-care and just talking about the word self-care. And that's pretty much how we're have built the rapport with each other. And one day it kind of dawned on me, like, just to ask, well, what does the beauty industry do for you all when you're in this situation? She said, well, it's not really taught in the curriculums. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a therapist. What do you mean? She's like, we learn techniques, but not that technique. So that whole idea in my whole mind was, God, there are thousands of beauty professionals and hairstylists. I can only imagine the mental anguish at times when they're just literally packing on all of this invisible baggage, invisible weight day in, day out. And that birthed the curiosity. And my mind just went there and it just never stopped traveling. And that's how I'm kind of pretty much here now.
Well, and many stylists are empaths. So when you say that they
Yes.
are taking on all of this heaviness and they don't maybe even realize it's piling on, how do you
Yeah.
see that kind of eventually manifest itself or like play out in their lives that is not helpful and possibly harmful?
What I normally see is it starts to intervene into their personal lives. It starts to manifest in their personal lives in terms of their parenting styles. The frustrations carry over. They become it starts physically, very fatigued, very easily aggressive, in terms of the aspect of exhaustion. They're not there to be there for their families because the anguish in terms of dealing with the day-to-day stressors, it's exhaustion. And then also the communication barriers with the relationships. If they're in a platonic relationship with their friends, if they're in an intimate relationship with their partners, it does not cut off. They're not trained on the clinical skills as therapists to be able to debrief from one situation to the other. And as therapists, we're taught to be able to debrief with the clinical skills that we know and that we're taught in school over the various years on how to do the debriefing exercises and to know when it's overwhelming or to know how to protect our boundaries. And before you know it, it's, wait a minute, I brought home this to my home. My partner's very upset. I just wanted to tell him that the shampoo girl didn't shampoo the customer's hair right. And now everyone gets the silent treatment at home. And it goes there. And all of this started at 9 o'clock this morning and it's 10 o'clock. And the dog's even mad now, just that fast. So, you think about it, you're like, my God, all of this transpired from one incident. If you had the opportunity to just go through and reprocess the day, and in my words, is give that energy back or give that disposition back to that person or to I say that person, but that inner person in ourselves, because I call that self-talk, and say, okay, Katie, I'm going to release that back. The shampoo girl didn't do her job. At 9:30, we're allowed to vent about it. At 10 o'clock, we're done with that. Because if not, it will trickle down throughout the day and throughout the week. And before you know it, you're having an argument and you're sitting in couples therapy and it's just that way, or the kids are having a rambunctious moment and we're trying to figure out, well, mom is still mad. So it's just the art of knowing And sometimes if you're not aware, it could just be literally one pile of situation, and it's not decompartmentalized yet. So I see it manifest in so many ways. And that displacement and that projection, it is a real thing. It is a real, and those are therapy, especially if you're an empath, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those words, they're real. And if you don't check them at the door or debrief them, they will come and get you and they will find you because they're your best friends. They're your best friend.
Yeah, and it's not taboo anymore to receive therapy. It's like encouraged
Yes.
and it's a healthy tool for everybody. So, what are some of the maybe skills or techniques, as you mentioned, that would be helpful for owners in the day to day when, like you kind of said before we started, they have this somewhat of a role of being a mother hen, and that's a lot of responsibility to not just be the person who provides this exceptional space for you to be creative and be successful, but
Yes.
you're kind of this unspoken person that's meant to do. Is that fair to have that expectation? And then how do you help us cope with that?
I don't think it's fair socially because, again, no one really prepares you for business, especially when you've had this dream your whole life to be a stylist and to have this vision to be an entrepreneur and to have, to have a salon. No one ever talks about that until you're actually in it. The other side that we don't talk about, the other responsibilities, it's not fair. And I think society should do a better job with explaining that side, but we really don't because we beautify it so well, and social media does a great job in doing it, like this is the golden dream, this is where you want to get to. And they do it as well as therapists too. They do it. They don't talk about the burnout, they don't talk about, being able to. So I think it's in every aspect of occupation, but to be well prepared, especially if you're a salon owner. I said to you earlier, like a mother hen, when you're in a level of responsibility, and especially if you have your own children, and if you are a salon owner, you have another set of, responsible individuals. And that's the part that's not normally discussed because you are everything. You are the payer. They're looking for you to make sure that you have everything running smoothly. You have to do the invoices, and then you also have to put out spats between what's going on, commissions, making sure they're selling, making sure that the inventory, that is a lot and that's heavy. And I'm here to tell you that's heavy. So I can understand that the frustrations that you have, they are real and they are valid. And I'm here to let you know to validate those concerns that you have and those frustrations, that they are realistic, and to let you know that no one should minimize those because that is another level, another layer to the cake. That's just not being a hairstylist now. That's taking on the beauty entrepreneurship role of being a business owner. And my thing is that yes, if anyone needs to self-care, you do. Because not only are you working in the capacity, if they don't do it, it always falls back on you. And they expect it to be done because why? You've taken on the ownership of what? This is your dream. And your dream is what? To run this salon. People will leave, they will come. But at the end of the day, this is something that you've always wanted. And we want to make sure that this dream can continue and also blossom. And the first thing is to make sure that your mental health is in check. And that could be whether it's modern day therapy or holistic, finding some type of practice. And one of my best is debriefing. I am an advocate for finding a person. Listen, my alter ego, her name is Betty. Okay. And Betty knows, yes, Betty knows. She gets me together. And debriefing for me is Betty tells me, okay, it's enough. Not right now. And when it's time for me to shift gears, especially when I'm done for the day, I have these mantras that I say: I'm done for the day, I'm ready to play, or I'm done for the day, I'm leaving it here today. Find something to reprogram your mind, to reset your mind, and just knowing to say, okay, it is time for me to be a mom. It is time to lock up the shop. It is time to close the books. It will still be here tomorrow. And so many times, especially as business owners, you feel that it's not enough hours in a day. Most business owners are type A personality. It's like, listen, I'm racing against time. From the moment you jump out that bed, your mind's running. And I talk about that in the ebook, mind your business, just for beauty owners, hairstyle owners. It's your mind is 1,000 to nothing. And that in itself is unsafe, because if something was to happen to you today or tomorrow, no one, and I'll say this respectfully, no one will be able to do your job the way you do it. So, in order for us to keep this momentum going in a successful, in a healthy way, we have to preserve our energy mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, physically. It has to be preserved. And it's almost like a positive selfishness I talk about. People are like, selfishness? What do you mean? I call it a positive selfishness. I can only pour so much until it comes to the point of, if I'm pouring too much, I have nothing for myself. So I can only ration out so much until I look back at my own cup and say, I got a little bit left. I got to go replenish. And the replenishing part is the debriefing part. I'm shutting it off today. Find the inner voice. Give her or him a name. If you want to be Betty, I'll give you Betty today. You want her name? Take it. You take her and talk to her. Use her as the model and say, what would Betty do right now? And Betty is the alter ego person to say, listen, on the shoulder, you're tired. You're worn out. Give it a break. Get the keys. Let's go. The girls are already gone home. They're gone home. It's after hours. Let's go. Or let's get a planner. Let's do this today. If it didn't make the list tomorrow, let's turn the page. That's why they have other pages, you all. I know. There's why it's a calendar. One day to the 31st or the 30th. Put it on the next day. It's okay. As for my owners out there, it is okay. We cannot do it all today. And when you start to regulate that, you reset your mind, you reset your whole ambiance. And not only for you, other people will respect it. And you say, oh no, because life will say, keep on living, or it'll also say, keep on doing the same things until you just pass out and say, oh my God, where did the time go? I could have done this better. And I don't want you to be on that side. I want you to keep on living. So unapologetically. So those are my tips that I have for owners in order to keep the day-to-day functions going and being the mother hen that you're great at doing, because we all know what comes along with that.
Well, I love everything you brought up. And for everybody listening, in our show notes, you will have a link to check out ZELINA's podcast and her resources that you mentioned, your ebook. So I just love that. Also, your social media for everybody to follow you. Thank you so much for what you've shared so far. I think that what's interesting is prior to kind of this generation or this new culture of owners, it used to be a physical fatigue because many owners were behind the chair their whole career in addition to working on the business. It was just they were playing multiple roles. So there's that physical burnout. Now, many owners are finding that freedom of working on the business and less behind the chair. Maybe it's because there is so much more on the mental side of running business and the decisions to be made, the conversations that need to be had. I joked with one owner a few weeks ago that, your role at this point is probably majority HR. I said, maybe 80% HR. She goes, Katie, no, it's 100% HR.
Yes,
So now
yes.
kind of the threat to ownership is
Mhm.
emotional burnout. What does that
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're going to educate us on emotional burnout. What does that mean? And then how can we in addition to our debriefs, make sure that we can overcome it so that we can be sustainable for the long haul?
Yes, yes. So I think what you're saying, Katie, is the shift. And I like to talk about the shift, especially with the industry that you're in. With going from behind the chair to going into the corporate actual ownership, entrepreneurship, you're going from one big, one big pond, one pond where you were the big fish to another pond where now you're the smaller fish in a bigger pond, if that makes sense. So like you're in the same pond, but now you've grown out of that pond. Now it's okay, I know everything about the whole concept of doing hair. I can do hair in my sleep. I'm a colorologist. I know everything about it and I am great at it. But now I've outgrown, and I always like to use this analogy. I'm a plant mom. I have plants everywhere. And one thing about a plant is that once it's outgrown its pot and those roots gets to wrapping around, if you don't repot it, if you don't repot that plant, it will become stagnated and it's more detrimental in the original container and has probably the survival rate of not even surviving because it's in the original container that it's outgrown versus it's probably actually living in a new container, slim to none. And that's actually what's going on, the shift, the great shift. And I see that a lot in business where we go from working 9 to 5 and now we're okay. I've got that. I've learned that. Now I want to take on a new level of responsibility. I got it. And that in itself is scary. Not to say you can't do it, it's scary because now it takes on a new level of skills, a new level of understanding, a new level of being able to work with other people in different industries to be able to branch out and make this project that you have become another successful level of reality and greatness. This is your baby. This is your salon. This is something you're birthing into a reality. You're watching this grow. And you know that in order for it to grow, you have to come behind that chair. You have to move from behind the chair. And that's that shift. And it's all, like you said, HR, that's one of their whole aspects. And HR is, they know what it's like to be serviced because most of them go and get their hair done. But I can't bring my shears to the table to the HR. It's no way. She doesn't understand that. It's okay. I need paperwork done. I need this done. I need to talk to marketing. I need to talk to this person. And you're like, well, what do you mean? Okay, well, how much budget is that? All of these new entities. So now it's you have to open your mind, and that's very burnt out. That's very emotionally draining because in your mind you have this vision. You know what it looks like, but no one talks about the little pieces in the middle. No one talks about all of the things that it takes to be able to make this salon into a reality. We have the shears, we have the blowout techniques, we have all of these other things that, that can do hair. We could do all of these things, but no one talks about the other aspect. Not even beauty school. Beauty school didn't even teach you. Cosmetology school didn't talk about that, just the basics. And now it's you growing into this bigger, growing into this fish, or in this fish growing into this bigger pond. And it's scary. It is scary. But you have the vision. And one thing that tell people this all the time, and I say this, is that one step at a time. Congratulate yourself on the one milestone. I always say this when we're talking about Picasso painting. It took so long for this artist to paint this masterpiece that they say it is the Mona Lisa. My God, it's one of the most studied pieces on the face of the earth. But it didn't start there. And as life, we always look at it as, well, I want to look at the start and I know at the finish, I know what I want to get at the finish, but no one never talks about the middle. And in the middle, the middle is where the Picasso is painted. The middle is where the Mona Lisa is painted. No one talks about the middle. We want the start, we want the end, but it's the middle where we build. It's the middle. It's the trials, the valleys, the highs, the lows. The HR is not seeing my vision. It's production got it wrong. The camera's not working today. The invoice didn't come in right. And I got to do it again. I got to smile up, and then I got to deal with my staff. No one talks about that. And all of that is burnout 101. So I'm here to tell you that, again, that is valid. All of those feelings that you are having is valid. I don't think in society we validate the emotional stress of burnout. It needs to be validated. Yes, that is a part of it because you're human. You're not a robot. Burnout is going to happen. I'm here to say it again. Burnout is going to happen. Is what we do when it happens. We reset. We refocus. We take a break. We reset. We take a break. We refocus. And then as we gather ourselves, we restructure. And then we also never forget to pat ourselves on the back in the middle of the process. Because especially as owners, we want it done now. I want my money and I want it now. We want our business and we want it now. And we don't do it. I do it. I want to see numbers now. I put my coin in. I want my bubble gum now. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And I think that's where we need to give ourselves grace. So if you want to know the trick to burnout, it's re-strategizing, refocusing, taking the break, stepping back, strategizing, refocusing, patting ourselves on the back. And the number one to put it all in a bow is give yourself grace. Because I am here to tell you, if you're human and you have blood running through your brain, your body, you have blood running through your body, you will have burnout. It's no way that you're not going to have it at some point in your life, because life gonna life. It's gonna do its thing every time. But when it happens, these are the skills, these are the techniques, and this is how we bounce back every time. And we overcome and we remain resilient and we keep driving on. And I hope that helps. I think those are the tips that I normally give. And always remember to give grace. Give grace. Pat yourself on the back.
Oh man, I love grace. That's huge. We need that.
Yes.
We all need that. Thank you. For owners listening today, as we kind of wrap things up, if you were going to share any final words of wisdom, what's kind of the one takeaway you would want them to have with this conversation?
It would always be, like you said, to give grace. And remember, people always say, remember the why. I always say, remember the when. Remember the when. Because sometimes we can remember the why, but remembering the why can be also anxiety feeling, especially on those days. So remember the why. Remember the why. Well, listen, I just want to grab a Snicker today. That's my why. I don't want to drink a protein shake. Someone say grab a Snicker, because y'all have stressed me out. But if I can remember the when, if I can say, when I get this, what this will do for me. When was a time I thought about this? When was a time I thought I would never see this? You could put that when in so many different perspectives. That word when, I remember when I thought I would never get here. Oh God, that goes back to that gratitude, the little things. I remember a time I never had a brick and mortar, and now I'm here. I remember a time when I never had staff, and now I have 20, and now I'm a mother hen. I remember a time when I never had an HR I thought I would never call, and now I'm here. Not why, when. So however your win is for that day, you could be WIN, or normally it's first is WHEN. Let's look at the win this time.
Amazing.
I know.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much, ZELINA. You've been incredible. And profound. And again, for everybody listening, please check out our show notes where you can tap into all that ZELINA has to offer. Thank you so much for
Yes.
being with me today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us here week after week. If you appreciate this platform, we would be so grateful if you could leave us a positive review wherever you're listening so that more people like yourself will discover Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business. Until next time, everybody, have an awesome day and stay strong.